inside the Biscuits, Brews, and Ball podcast number 7 here on March 13th, 2022. Jack Withrow alongside Bryan England. Coach England is in the house. Also in the house, Derek Ragle.
Derek Ragle.
Derek Ragle. No, it's Derek Ragle.
Thanks for having
the man, the myth, the legend. It says it right there.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Oh, dude. Love having you.
Yeah.
Because you're the man, like I said.
Well, I try.
Yes, episode 7 on a beautiful, sunny day here in the state of West Virginia.
The start
What
of
is
spring.
going on with the weather?
The start of spring, hopefully. This is the beginning of no more cold weather or snow.
I hope.
I checked the weather. Next week it's supposed to be nice, which, for the state tournament, that's always good. But definitely weird. Friday we're in shorts and T-shirts practicing T-ball, and Saturday you can't get out of the house. So
Yeah. Well, and then last Saturday? I mean, it was beautiful. It was up in the 70s, playing baseball in Charleston.
Right.
Yeah.
Not this weekend. 6 to 8 inches of snow. So, but anyway, like you said, we've got the boys' state tournament. They just wrapped up the girls' state tournament on Saturday with 4 championships. So a good tournament there. Exciting ball game in the Class A.
My goodness, Sports Center top 10.
Yeah.
I think number 9.
Number 9 in the top 10.
Cameron
so.
versus Gilmer.
Yeah.
Gilmer County,
Wow.
Cameron girl.
Great
Forget her
sequence of
name.
plays.
Yeah.
Macy
Neely?
I think so, yeah. Hit the shot.
It was like 4 seconds to go in the game. Cameron was down by 2, and the girl got fouled. Hit both foul shots.
Yep.
And Gilmore County tries to inbound it. It gets just tipped enough
Yep.
to where it just falls right to the girl from Cameron.
And she let
I
it
don't
fly.
even know she shot it. She just threw
Just
it up.
Chucked it, man.
It looked
And
pretty
went
good.
in,
Yeah, and it just swished in, and they won
Shout out
53 to 50.
I don't know the girl's name who tipped the ball, but shout out to her. That's an extra little play that
Yep.
Yeah, well, it's just, Brian and I, when we coach together, we always stress everything matters. All the little things matter, everything, and that's just something that, not a lot of people would point out. So good thing for you to point that out there, that without that girl doing that they're never in the position to win the game. So little things matter.
So this week we turn our attentions back to the Charleston Coliseum and the boys' state tournament. Always a fun event.
it's my most favorite time of year because, one, I think West Virginia High School State Tournament is bar none, and this is coming from someone who's not even from the state, so it's bar none the best. And I say that because you bring the whole state and every classification in to one venue.
Yeah.
And you have 4 classifications, 8 teams per classification. You got the whole state in one venue, and it's just an exciting time. Obviously, Charleston is the place to be. It's also one of my favorite times because you coincide that with usually the NCAA tournament first and second round that week, and it's just, it's a basketball lover's dream that week.
Yeah, I think for just a sports person in general, but definitely if you're into basketball, but it's almost like it's a reunion of sorts. You have people from all over the state coming together and seeing people that they haven't seen for a long time and reliving, old memories from past games and things like that. And it's just a really cool atmosphere. Again, if you're into sports and you've never been, you're really missing out. I think, what was it I can't remember, 2013 or something. They had a 100-year anniversary.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool to go. They had this big banquet, and they had a lot of speakers and things like that. My dad and my grandfather went, and it's just a really cool event. Like I said, it's just like one big reunion. You see people that you maybe only see that time of year, and you'll have some people that will take that whole week off of work, and that's like their vacation.
Yep.
So it's an awesome thing, and I agree with Brian. It's probably one of, if it's not top 5, I can't think of 5 other states that might have a better state tournament than that. Now, granted, I'm biased, and that's the only one I've been to, but I've got to think Kentucky and Indiana's are probably pretty good too. But West Virginia's has got to be right up there.
Don't forget North Carolina.
Yeah, North Carolina. Not taking anything away from any of these other states, but you play the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals all in the same venue, and you have 4 classes doing that.
Yeah.
Just provides a great atmosphere. It's a lot of people, and coming together, kids living their dreams out, coaches living their dreams out there on the Civic Center floor. So I don't know of another state that plays the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals at the same venue that I can think of. I could be wrong, but
Yeah, I mean,
And it's a new court.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same court, new paint
job.
scheme.
yeah.
So what do you think about that?
Well, I went and saw Logan and Fairmont play in girls yesterday, so I got to see the court in person. It looked good. It looked
Yeah.
good. Now they've added, like Chick-fil-A, I guess, as a sponsor of the tournament. They've
Right.
got their logos there in a couple spots, but it looked good. It's clean. There's not much going on, and
I like a clean look.
yeah, and you still have the West Virginia logo there, which I like. But I saw something the other day that Ohio does, which I think is cool. The two teams that are playing, they'll put a star on the map of Ohio.
Yeah, I saw that.
To represent those teams. I
Right.
think that's something cool that West Virginia could possibly adopt, and it wouldn't take much to do. You
Right.
just
Right.
put some decals down.
Yep.
But Florida looks nice.
So the boys tournament starts on Tuesday. 6 games every day. So until we get the championship Saturday. But I'll be there in the evening, calling the evening games. I'll probably be there in the morning too, just chilling out. But
yeah.
I'll be there in the evening. So Class 4A, we'll take a look at that one first. And, of course, top seed Morgantown has got to be everybody's favorite.
Yeah, they're
in this
on
bracket.
they're on another level this year. Obviously, every year they're,
Always got talent.
always got talent and just as much talent they have as also coaching. I mean, they're very well coached. Coach Tallman does a great job, but the road, in my opinion, the road runs through Morgantown this year. So,
Yep.
which I thought that last year too.
Yeah.
And,
GW knocked them off.
That's right.
But I think that's a safe bet there. Coach Tallman, like you said, does a great job. I mean, this is their 29th appearance in the state tournament, and they're looking pretty strong. I know they went down south and played some teams, and that those teams beat them, but I don't think they've lost to anybody in state this year. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think so.
I don't think they have.
All their losses are from out-of-state teams. I think they lost 3 games down south and then one to Dover, Ohio. So other than that, they're undefeated in state, and they're looking to be a pretty tough challenge for anybody to do, but it's not undoable. But
Right.
they're looking pretty daggone good.
Yep. Taking a look at the seedings real quick. Of course, Morgantown at 1, Jefferson at number 2, Parkersburg South, then South Charleston, George Washington, Wheeling Park, Cabell Midland, and Musselman. So Morgantown and Musselman meet up in that first round. Of course, Morgantown beat them 74-43 earlier in the season. And then Jefferson, I hear they're really good. They got 5 players that can really play.
Yeah, they are pretty good. They're 22-0, so you can't ask for much more than that. They're coached by Richard Lewis. This is their 12th appearance in the state tournament. Their average margin of victory is 30 points, so they're scoring 74 and only giving up 54. So 20 points. I said 30, but it's 20. But still pretty impressive. They're led by Cameron Johnson, a 6'5" senior who averages 13.9 points per game. And then they got 5 guys that start in double figures. Cameron Johnson leads them in points, but that's impressive to me because when as Bryan knows, you've got to get guys to buy in. When you have 5 guys scoring in double digits, that means you got guys that have bought in, that are unselfish, and they're not necessarily worried about scoring. Not that having somebody scoring 20 points is bad, but it just you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about one guy not being able to score one night. You can have somebody else pick up that load if someone's struggling a little bit. So I like balance. It makes it harder for teams to prepare for you, and I like this balance that they have with 5 guys in double figures.
But I look at their schedule. In the first game of the year, they barely beat Hurricane. Of course, it's the first game, so
they played a little bit deeper into the football playoffs, I believe.
yeah, and you never know who's playing, who's not playing.
Right.
But it was a 74-71 victory for Jefferson. They played Greenbrier East twice, so that's a team that we're familiar with here in the Kanawha Valley.
Right.
They beat them twice. They barely beat Musselman twice.
Yeah.
But one time I had to go to overtime to beat Musselman. So
Right.
questions still out there for me.
Sure.
So
Coach Basile at Musselman, of course, they're in the state tournament. They're playing Morgantown, who we just talked about. But, he does a good job.
Yeah.
And, anytime you're very familiar with other people, you can probably keep things a little bit closer than maybe typically they would be if you weren't very familiar with them. But, I'm kind of interested to see this Jefferson team. Last year they played GW in the state tournament, got beat in the first round.
It was a close game there in the first half.
Yeah, it was a close game, and it was the first time that those kids had been in the state tournament for a while. Jefferson hadn't been in the state tournament since 2007 until last year. So, those kids probably aren't used to that stage, and I'm interested to see how they handle it this year. So we'll see.
And so Jefferson has Cabell Midland, a Mountain State Athletic Conference team,
Right.
in that first round. And then you've got Parkersburg South and Wheeling Park, which these two teams met up once this year. South beating Park in that first game. So you never know about that game either. Those are two opponents that know each other very well. So
Yeah, Parkersburg South, they've always been, a state tournament team, or not always, but, are right there. Mike Fallon, the coach there, does a great job. They've got a guy named Ashton Mooney, who's a senior, who's averaging about 20 points a game, and then another guy who's a junior, Cyrus Trawl, averaging about 17 points per game. And they really like to get up and down the floor. They're going to press. They like to shoot. They want to get out and run, and they want to speed the game up. So if I'm Wheeling Park, I'm probably trying to slow the game down and use that big floor, spread them out a little bit, and be a little more methodical in what they're doing. But South's looking pretty good.
yeah.
A few years ago, I think Coach Fallon had a "Let It Fly" motto there with his team. I don't think that's changed.
No,
this year.
they're still letting them fly. That's for sure.
And I think prior to last year, I think they made 8 straight state tournaments, I believe. Could be wrong on that. Listeners can fact check me, but I think it was close to 8. So, and obviously a little hiccup last year, but this year they're back on track and obviously ready to roll at the 3 seed.
Yeah, no, you're correct on that. They 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So eight in a row until
Till the
last
Red
year.
Dragons knocked them off.
That's right. That's right.
Yep. Now, the 4-5 seeds, what intrigues me the most, and it's because these two teams just a long history, a rivalry, and you could just see it coming here at the end of the season, especially after South Charleston knocked off Capital in that sectional opener. But it'll be George Washington and South Charleston once again for the 4th time this season. They'll match up in that quarterfinal matchup. So let's take a break, and then when we come back, we'll have South Charleston head coach Josh Daniel right here on the Biscuits, Brews, and Ball podcast. Welcome back inside the Biscuits, Brews, and Ball podcast here in the Generations Physical Therapy Studio in Hurricane, West Virginia. 7 locations now. Get ready to open up one in Nitro. They got the ribbon cutting ceremony tomorrow at the Nitro locations, of course, in Charleston, Winfield, right here in Taze Valley, Milton, and Barbersville, and Grayson. Check them out, generations.pt.com. And now we've got head coach of the South Charleston boys basketball team, Mr. Josh Daniel. Josh, welcome to the podcast, buddy.
I appreciate you guys having me.
All right, you're on with Bryan England and Derek Ragle. And, Coach, you got the team into the state tournament since, what was the last year? 2014 is when?
2014, yeah.
So, welcome back to the state tournament.
Was that the year that Hurricane knocked off the Black Eagles?
I believe so, yeah.
Yes, in the first round.
I think South Charleston a 1 seed too, I think.
Yeah.
Was it a 1-8?
1 or 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they were the 2 seed. That's where they
That
had
were
Anthony
they too?
Billings. Yeah, they Billings and A.D. Cunningham, I think, was on that team.
Napper was a sophomore or freshman.
He was a sophomore or junior, I think.
Oh yeah, I knew it was on. I remember watching that game.
Yeah.
Hurricane was good.
Yeah, they had. That's when
They had a
Hurricane
good
had
team.
that little run there.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. But yeah, it feels good to be back, man.
Yeah.
It feels good. As I told our kids after the game, like, this is where South Charleston basketball belongs. Like, this shouldn't be a one-time thing. This needs to start happening on a regular basis. But
Right.
it's hard. It's hard when you got to go through Capital and GW and Beckley and some of those other teams. So we're just fortunate enough to make it back.
What's it feel like leading your alma mater to the state tournament, Josh?
It's special. South Charleston has always kind of been my dream job. Since I got into coaching high school basketball, and just wanting those kids to, kind of feel the same success that we were able to have when I was there and the years before me and after I left. Like, that's kind of the rewarding part is seeing these kids get to experience a state tournament and go through the process and, just the camaraderie built within your team. I think not only, it's a big step for us this year, but I think it's going to help us down the road as well.
Yeah, I suppose lead me into my question here. With it being so long, 8 years since they've been there, none of those kids have played on that stage. Do you think they're going to be nervous or added pressure with that being the case, or no?
I don't know. It's hard to tell until you kind of get there.
Right.
I have a feeling there might be a few that will, and there are a few that won't. But like I always tell them, like, once the ball goes up, it's just another basketball game. You're supposed to have fun doing it. It's 32 minutes of doing something you've been doing your whole life. Just soak it all in, have fun, and do what got you to this point. So we're just trying to take it day by day, and we'll see where the chips fall.
Yeah.
Hey, Josh, talk about some of your key players. I know Wayne Harris is coming up big for you here all season long, and especially in that Princeton game. It seems like you guys were you're up a point going into the fourth quarter, I believe, against Princeton, and then it was like the Wayne Harris show. He just took it over there.
He did. I mean, we got 4 guys that average double figures. He's our leading scorer, but we've had multiple guys step up all year. We were. And I don't know what it was. We actually got down 4 late in the third quarter against Princeton, and we were flat. The pace of the game wasn't a good pace for us. So we made a few adjustments defensively to try to speed it up, and we kind of got it going fast. And that's where I think we ended the game. Or when we took the lead, we went on like a 20-2 run or something like that. So, and he was a huge part of that. Wayne, when we're struggling at times, he's put us on his back and kind of willed us to win. And he did that in the fourth quarter the other night. But some other guys, Caden Fawcett has shot the ball really well for us this year. He's a senior. He's been so much more consistent this year than, some games last year. Mondrell Dean, is 12 points, 9 rebounds a game for us this year. He gives us that, athleticism element that not a whole lot of other teams have. And, then we got Bryson Smith, who's a 6'5", 6'6" shooting guard who, can get to the rim. He's long. He can get his own shot. He can shoot over top of people. So we've got multiple weapons that can score. And when we get everybody involved, like, that's when we've been really good. When, it's just not one guy getting 25 and everybody else 5 or 6. When we've got 4 to 5 to 6 guys scoring in double figures, that's what makes us a really good offensive team.
Yeah. So obviously, earlier in your coaching career, you led Herbert Hoover to the state tournament. And talk about the similarities in, obviously 2 totally different teams and communities, but, the characteristics of a state tournament caliber team are similar in the way that they do things. So talk about the similar characteristics of both that. What did that Herbert Hoover team and your current South Charleston team have in common, as far as obviously this region you had to navigate through Capital, George Washington, Withrow, and Greenbrier, Princeton, and those teams. That's a tough sled. But talk about the similar characteristics of both of your state tournament teams.
Well, I think as the year progressed, like our Hoover team, we had a stretch there where I think we lost like 6 games in a row or 7 games in a row. That's when, we were playing, when you guys were at Winfield and Chapmanville and Mingo Central. I mean, the Cardinal Conference, with Polka and just everybody, it was just a grind, and we just weren't good enough to win a lot of those games, but it made us better. And I just feel like that team continued to get better as the year progressed. We didn't let those losses affect us. A lot of teams can shut down after losing 6 or 7 in a row, but we had some older guys that were, kind of been through the fire a little bit, and we understood that we had a chance, in our section and also our region. So just, coming in every day and trying to get a little bit better and learning from those losses, I think really helped us. And, we haven't gone through a stretch this year where we've lost a ton of games. I think we lost, 2 in a row there towards the middle of the year. But our kids have still gotten better. Like, we're playing our best basketball this time of the year, which as a coach, that's what you want, is trying to find a way to get your kids to, even though when you're winning, how can you still learn, from your wins and also get better. So, I thought our Capital game in the sectional was probably our best game of the year. And then you turn around and go to GW and win at GW for a sectional championship. It wasn't pretty, a lot of the game, but you find a way to win against a really good team and a great program. So, to get out 2 of those. And then I thought we were a little flat, like I said, against Princeton, but good teams find a way to win, even when you don't play your best. That's what I told our kids. We still end up winning by 15 or whatever it was, but just preparing each day in practice, not going through the motions. Like, I thought our practices have been really, really good the last 2 or 3 weeks. And I think that has led over into the games as well. So
you talk about that victory over George Washington in the sectional championship. I know George Washington's had South Charleston's number here lately, but how important as a mindset for your ball club is to get that victory over George Washington?
Yeah, I think it's huge. And to be honest, this is my 3rd year at South Charleston. Probably out of the 7 times we played them, however many, probably there's been 2 or 3 games that we've really probably should have won and shot ourselves in the foot. We've lost 2 or 3 games where, about any way possible you can think of, we've lost. You guys probably remember a couple of them. But I think it's huge, not only physically, but like you said, mentally, just getting over that hump. Because when things started to go south the other night against them, we were up 13 at one point in the 4th quarter, and it looked like we had a chance to kind of roll. And then, they came back, and then all of a sudden the pressure got put back on us. And so it was kind of like, here we go again, because we've been in that situation before. Right. But just trying to gut one out and just finding a way to get over that hump is huge, not only physically, but also mentally. I don't know. I don't know how our kids would have handled that from the mental aspect if we would have lost that game, as far as the way it was playing out. So knowing you can do it, I think is big moving forward. Especially when we get to Thursday night, I'm sure it's going to be a close game again. And understanding that, hey, we can do this. We just did it a couple weeks ago, I think helps out tremendously.
Well, Coach, you do have a Thursday night game, and that is at 9 o'clock. Is that, you like playing that late? Or does it matter in the tournament?
I don't know if it really matters at this point. I mean, the teams that are playing at 7:15 or 7:30, whatever, are really the only teams that can kind of run a normal schedule, so to speak. Right. I mean, you got people playing at 9:30, 1 o'clock, getting out of school, going to school. So I don't think it really matters a whole lot. You're going to have to play at an odd time, any way you look at it. So we'll try to get our kids down to the tournament this, beforehand, and just let them watch some games and just, kind of taking the experience. I do like playing on the Thursday just to kind of, like I said, get them down there, and because they understand what's going on, and just enjoy the atmosphere. So I think we're going to do a little pep rally at school on Thursday. So, everything that comes with making a state tournament, the process of going through it and the recognition that kids get, that's part of the, the memories and it being enjoyable, so I'm sure they'll soak it all in. And, at the end of the day on Thursday, we're going to have to refocus and strap it up against a really good GW team.
Yep. Before we let you go, I got more important questions for you.
Yeah.
What's your favorite beer?
Oh man,
you a craft beer guy or what are you?
Yeah, well, like for dinner, yeah. I've been the Devil's Ants has been a good one for me lately. That's kind of my go-to. That's kind of my go-to when I go to dinner. Yeah. So I think I had one or two with Bryan there the other night down at the tap. We were sitting there talking basketball. So, but yeah, that's kind of my go-to when I go out to eat with my wife or a couple friends for sure.
And the other important question I had: Tudor's or Susie's biscuits?
I know what your preference is, but I'm a Tudor's guy. Maybe it's because it's a little bit closer to it's a little bit closer to my house, but that you really can't go wrong with either one. I mean, but I've always been a Tudor's guy, so I'm gonna stick with Tudor's as my final answer on that one.
That's fine. I mean,
Susie's is good too, though. Yeah. I actually Susie's lunch is very underrated. I don't know if you guys have had their burgers and their sandwiches,
I was gonna say, I've heard good
but
things about the burgers. So
yeah, I mean, their bacon burger is very good. So if you haven't checked that out, I would highly encourage it.
I agree. Well, Coach, we thank you for joining us today, and best of luck Thursday night. I know I'll be courtside. I've got the game. I'll be calling that game. So
good deal. Well, I appreciate it.
Yep. So
we'll be there.
Good luck, man.
All right. Thank you, guys, and enjoy the podcast.
All right, brother.
Look forward to seeing you all next week.
Yes.
All right. Take care.
All right. See you. That's head coach of South Charleston High School boys basketball, Josh Daniel. And again, we'll take a break and we'll come back with more Biscuits, Brews, and Ball podcast. Welcome back inside the Biscuits, Brews, and Ball podcast here in the Generations Physical Therapy studio in Hurricane, West Virginia. Jack Withrow, Bryan England, alongside our special guest today, Derek Ragle.
Thank you. I appreciate that special title.
Dreek. We just talked to head coach at South Charleston High School, Josh Daniel, as their team will play Thursday night at 9 o'clock against number 5, George Washington. So now we'll turn our attention to Class AAA. And Class AAA, you got to look at Shady Spring up top and Logan.
I saw Shady Spring play. God, who did I see them play? I think it was Pikeview there in the sectionals. And, oh, my gosh, they looked so good. I'm real impressed. I think Ronnie Olson does a great job with that team. They play great defensively. They have a good offense. Of course, everything starts with the 2 Chapman twins, Braden and Cole Chapman. But I mean, they don't have. They may have a senior come off the bench. I'm not sure what class Sam Jordan is in that comes off the bench for them. But the rest of them are all juniors, and then they start 1 sophomore. And then the thing is they've got 2 guys that one was starting, a freshman, Jack Williams, who tore his ACL I think a few games into the season. And then they had another guy, Brady Green, that had transferred from Independence. They got hurt in football, and was supposed to be a big contributor for them. So I really like this team. They've got good size. They've got good scoring. They play great defensively. I mean, I think they're top 2, 3, regardless of class, in my opinion. I've just been really impressed with them. And they're all back next year. So I don't know. We'll see. But North Marion definitely has a tall task ahead of them whenever they play. I think they play on Wednesday.
Yes, Wednesday at 5:30.
Yeah.
So, and then you got Logan as the number 2 seed, Fairmont Senior at 3, Wheeling Central Catholic at 4, and then Grafton, Herbert Hoover, Scott, and North Marion.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see Grafton play. I've heard a lot about this Ryan Mayer that plays for them. He's a 5'11" guard. He averages, I think, 21 a game. I gotta double check myself on that. Yeah, 21.8. He's 5'10" guard, and I've heard good things. And that section and region up there was really tough. You had Fairmont, East Fairmont, Grafton, Elkins, all in Notre Dame, all in that section and region. And so, those teams were Fairmont Senior and Grafton came out of there, and those teams are battle tested. They're going to be ready. And I'm interested to see how Grafton does with Wheeling Central. Wheeling Central last year was the runner-ups in AAA, and they've got Ryan Reesbeck back, and it seems like Wheeling Central's in Charleston every year. Mel Stevens, coach there, does a great job, and I think that's going to be a really good game.
Yeah. Yeah, that should be. And, of course, we talked about Shady Spring at the top, but then you've got Logan at 2. They've got Scott, which those two teams are familiar with each other.
Speaking of familiar, for the listeners that don't know, Coach Ragle here is an assistant coach at Nitro, and obviously you guys had quite the battle against Logan in the regional championship, double overtime. So you're really familiar. Obviously, Cardinal Conference, you've scouted them this year. Talk about Logan and the what they're going to bring to the table here in the state tournament this year.
Well, Logan is led by Scott Browning, who is the younger brother of Stevie Browning that played at Marshall, and he's a 5'11" guard who can really score it. And then you got Garrett Williamson, who's a 6'3" guard, a junior, who can score the ball as well. And then they've got some post players in Aiden Slack, Jackson Koger, and Jackson Tackett that are all very capable of scoring as well. But in my opinion, everything goes through those two guards. And we went down there with a game plan to try to take them out of the game, and we did a pretty good job of it for most of the game. But Steve Browning, decided he was going to start getting his, and I think he got 8 or 10 there in the overtime periods. We went to double overtime with him. And he hit the game winner with about 2 seconds left. And, of course, in high school basketball, the clock doesn't stop on a made basket. And Logan Fieldhouse is, loud and can be wild. And we tried to call timeout, but, they couldn't hear us and they didn't see us and, whatever. But the clock ran out, and that was the game. But it was a great ball game. We were playing without one of our better players who was sitting the game out. And we just told the kids that all the pressure's on Logan and to go out there and execute the game plan, and they did. They played hard. They did everything they could. We just came up a little bit short. They just got one more basket than we did, and that's all you can ask is for the kids to go out and play hard and execute what you're wanting them to do, and that's what our kids did. We just came up a little short.
Yep. The other, the 3-6 matchup, Fairmont Senior and Herbert Hoover. Herbert Hoover's playing pretty well here lately.
Yeah, that's another team we played. We played Hoover twice. They've got 3 guards that can really score it. The Hatfield brothers, Devin Hatfield's a senior. He averages 15. Then you've got Eli Robertson, junior, 16 points a game. And then Dane Hatfield, a freshman, 12 points per game. Those 3 kids can really fill it up. Where Fairmont Senior might give them some problems is inside. Fairmont Senior's got that big kid, Eric Smith, that's committed, I think, to Kent State in football or Miami of Ohio. I can't remember. I think he's going to Mac school. Yeah. But that's a big boy. And then they've also got a kid that's 6'6", that's averaging about 16 points a game, a guy by the name of Deshaun Good for Fairmont Senior, who might give some problems to Hoover, and then of course Zacchaeus Dobbs. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his first name, but younger brother of Zion Dobbs and son of Dion Dobbs, who played at Marshall, is averaging about 14 points a game, and he's 6'4". So Fairmont's got some good size, and they're always a very strong program. Dave Retton, the coach there, does a great job. Seems like they're in Charleston every year as well, and I think this will be a good game. I think the AAA field is going to be very competitive. And I think you'll see some good games. So it's just going to be a matter of, can Fairmont, hold up inside if Fairmont decides to try to take advantage of some of that size that they have.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. And the AAA field, I'm looking down at, it's going to bring some fans, because anytime you have Logan, they're going to bring some fans for basketball.
Scott has a great following.
Scott does. Shady Spring.
Wheeling Central has a great following.
Right.
Shady Spring. Yeah.
So, but that ought to be a fun tournament in Class AAA. Class AA, as we take a look at that. Number 1, Polka, and then St. Mary's, Bluefield, Ravenswood, South Harrison at 5, Wyoming East, Braxton County, and Magnolia. And I got to think that the Dots are heavily favored in this Class AA bracket.
Yeah, I mean, the championship's going to run through Polka. I don't see any of these teams beating them, but I've said the same thing last year, and Williamstown beat them. But, Isaac McNeely for Polka recently just won the Bill Evans Award, second year in a row. Phenomenal player. He's going to University of Virginia, and I think the world of him. He's a great kid and a great player, and I think this year he's on a mission, and I think he will lead his team, to a championship. But he's not the only one. They've got Jackson Toney, who's a nice player, and then Toby Payne, who's a Division I athlete going to Marshall, 6'5", and finishes well inside. And then you got Camel Meeks and Ethan Maynard that round out the starting lineup for them, and they do their jobs. And Isaac, I think they were talking about today, averages 20 points on only 13 shots a game.
Yeah.
That's pretty daggone efficient. I think it came out to like 1.5 points per game. And, some people are like, well, why doesn't he score much? Because he doesn't have to. He impacts the game in other ways and helps his team to win, on the defensive end, get some rebounds, getting assists, drawing all that attention. Just by drawing all the attention that he does, opens things up for his teammates. So there's other ways to impact the games than just scoring points.
And, talking about Isaac McNeely, obviously the whole state's known about Isaac for, since he's been in middle school for, nonetheless. And talk about what do you think the transition's going to be like for him? I mean, for the listeners that don't know, he's full scholarship to the University of Virginia. Playing for one of the best coaches in the country, in my opinion.
Yep.
And and Coach Bennett. So, how do you think his game's going to translate from Polka High School here in West Virginia to the ACC?
I think it's going to be pretty seamless. I mean, he basically plays for UVA minor league, and what I mean by that is, for what people may not know, is Virginia is very well known for their defense, which is the pack line defense. Well, that's what Alan Osborne at Polka runs, and it's the same system. Offensively, they run what they call blocker mover. So you have 2 screeners, and those are called blockers, and then you have 3 guys that move around that come off the screens that are movers. That's exactly what Virginia runs. So his transition from Polka to Virginia should be pretty seamless. What may be problems for him will be the speed of the game,
right,
and how strong those players are and how fast those guys are, and just the grind of college athletics.
Right.
It's a job. You're doing stuff every day. You've got class, and so all of that, those would be the biggest issues. But as far as like schemes and style of play, he should fit in fine. Yeah. I look for him to have a very good career down there in Virginia.
Take a look now at the AA seedings at number 2, St. Mary's at 22-2. They're pretty good.
Yeah, Coach Barnhart does a good job up there. I know in the past when they've been to the state tournament, they've been a very deliberate team. I have not seen them play this year. I know there's a Barnhart that plays for St. Mary's. I believe that is his son. and he averages about 20 some a game. So I'll be interested to see, how he plays. I'm trying to pull up my information here. Yeah, Grant Barnhart, he's about 6'4", senior, 24.7 points per game. So, in my opinion, in order to be able to beat Poca, at Nitro, we were fortunate enough to beat them early on in the year. You're really going to have to maximize your possessions. When you play Poca, they make every possession count. And if you get behind them late, you're going to be in trouble. So the key is to keep the game close or stay ahead, obviously. But if St. Mary's can run their stuff and hit their shots and be pretty deliberate and execute and have a lot of good possessions, I think they could be okay. But again, they've got a tough task ahead of them to win the AA state title with Poca.
Yep. You got Bluefield at 3. Bluefield, just a tradition of good basketball down there. And then Ravenswood, another traditional power. Mick Price has been there, forever. He still only looks like he's 32 years old.
Yeah, he's been there.
And his energy's about that same, too.
44 years.
If you go see a game, go watch Ravenswood and South Harrison and just watch Mick Price. So wonderful coach there at Ravenswood. But
would you put the Ravenswood's home gym in the top 10 in the state for home court advantages?
It's one of my favorite venues in the state period, and they've got a great advantage. It's a very Hoosiers-like place.
Right.
If you've never been, or check it out. If you get a chance to go to see a game there, especially a good game, a big game, like a Ripley Ravenswood game or just some other big-time game there, go do it. Check it out. It's a cool gym. The bleachers are separated from the court by a wall. And, the benches sits inside the wall. Well, the scorer's table is actually like almost up in the rafters. So when you report to the game, you don't actually report to the table. You just report to an X, and you got to look up to acknowledge the table up in the rafters. Like, hey, I'm going into the game.
Yeah.
But for me, it's one of my favorite venues in the state. Definitely top 5 for me.
Ravenswood High School, the Pit.
Yeah.
Is what they call it. But I was looking at St. Mary's schedule. They've only got 2 losses, but they beat South Harrison 59-46. That's South Harrison's only loss of the season. That was in that LKC, the Little Canal Conference Championship. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was South Harrison's only loss. Of course, it'll be Ravenswood and South Harrison, that 4-5 matchup. Wyoming East in the 6. Wyoming East, another basketball tradition down there. Long-time tradition. Of course, you go back to the Mullins High School days, and we
Mullins and Pineville,
we know about all that. So, but they're a little down this year, 13-11 coming in to the tournament, and then Braxton County and Magnolia. Magnolia, another one, long-time traditional basketball school. Is Dave Tallman's dad still coaching?
Yeah, he's still the coach there.
Okay.
And in their regional final, all 5 starters played the whole game. They played all 32 minutes.
The Iron 5.
Yeah, they gritted it out there.
I played a game like
Williamstown.
that one year in high school. We did the Iron 5 one time. It was interesting.
Yeah, so I'm sure they were a little tired. But, Magnolia is traditionally a pretty big basketball school, and traditionally I think they've done pretty good in a lot of sports. But basketball has been something they've been pretty successful at. And actually, Magnolia won a state title with double-digit losses. And this is just a random trivia thing for you. But the only other team that came across when I was going down my state tournament rabbit hole this weekend was Wheeling Central. So Wheeling Central in 2004 and then Magnolia in 2000 are the only 2 teams to ever win a state title with double-digit losses that I was able to come across. So I thought that was interesting.
Speaking of that, we'll go to Class A. And the bracket there, and you got James and Monroe at the top. They're 25-0, but they've been beat this year on the court.
Yep.
So there's a team in this bracket that has a losing record, only 5 wins and 20 losses, but we know the circumstances there, and that is Greater Beckley Christian at the 7th seed. So the seed in Class A, James Monroe at the top. Then you've got Man, the defending Class A champions.
What a draw for Man.
Yeah,
brutal.
Tucker County at 3.
That's like Fairmont Senior in football being a 16 seed.
Yeah. So Tucker County at 3, Huntington St. Joe at 4, Cameron at 5, Pendleton County at 6, and then Greater Beckley Christian at 7, and Madonna at number 8. And you talked about man's draw in that first game. They get the Crusaders of Greater Beckley Christian.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bad draw for man. Even though the record's 5-20, they're much better than that. That Greater Beckley, if you're not familiar with what happened, they had to forfeit 12 games due to ineligible players. So that dropped their record down to 5-20, and really put them behind the 8 ball as far as they had to go on the road for their first sectional game, things like that. But they've got in, and not your typical 7 seed. They still have some pretty talented players. They got 2 guards averaging 19 points a game, and Caden Smallwood and Kendrick Wilson, who are pretty good players, and they will give man lots of fits. I still think man will win the game, but definitely not your typical 7 seed. And I think they'll give man everything they want and more, and they're definitely capable of beating them.
Prior to becoming ineligible for those 12 games, or having to forfeit those 12 games, I believe they beat George Washington this year, Quad A, 5 seed in the state tournament. So, that was this is a solid Greater Beckley team, and obviously man's had a great year, so it should be a good matchup.
Yep, and then you've got James Monroe, the top seed, taking on Madonna. James Monroe, tell us a little bit about them.
James Monroe had a really good team last year. They are from the very southern part of the state, the consolidation of Peterstown and Union, and they have 2 really good players. Lots of good players, but 2 really stand out in Shad Savage, who's the son of the head coach, Matt Savage, and he can really shoot it. I think I read somewhere where he has been on a streak of making 2+ 3-pointers in a game dating back to 2020.
Wow.
So he can really shoot it.
Impressive.
He averages 20 points per game, and according to the stats on Max Preps, he's averaging 3.7 made 3-point field goals a game. So almost 4 threes made a game for him. And then they have another guard, Eli Allen, who's 6'3", averages 20 points per game, 9 rebounds, 9 assists, so almost a triple-double. I like this team. I watched a little bit of their sectional game with Greater Beckley. They've got a big kid inside too, so they got a little bit of everything. They've got a shooter, they got a guard that can do a lot of things, and then they got a guy that can mix it up inside, and Cam Thomas, who's about 6'5". I think they've got a good shot to run the table. But as we've seen, if you've gone to the Civic Center and watched the state tournament for a long time, the old saying is the Civic Center is where good shooting teams go to die. And so hopefully they don't fall victim to that. I think they're pretty good, and I think they've got a shot to cut the nets down.
Then you got the 3-6 matchup. Tucker County is the 3 seed, Pendleton County, and they're at the 6 seed. So if Pendleton County can get by Tucker County and man can get by Greater Beckley, that's the rematch of last year's single A championship game. So
that'll be interesting. Tucker won both of these regular season matchups, 45-39 and then 49-42. That's they're very familiar with each other, and anytime you play somebody, the more times you play somebody, the chances are of the team that's not won go up of winning. And I'm sure these teams are very familiar with each other. Pendleton County has been to the state tournament, and they went to the state championship. Now, Tucker was here last year. They got knocked out in the first round, but there's something to be said about having some of those guys back from last year for Pendleton County. They're led by Tanner Townsend, who was on the all-tournament team last year. So, he's got a little long in the tooth as far as the state tournament goes, and so he'll have those guys ready. I watched a little bit of Tucker County's regional final game against Tigers Valley. They play hard. They get after it. They really like to pound it inside. They've got 2 guys that are 6'4" and 6'5" that they like to feed the ball into. So I think it'll be a good game.
And you really prepped for this, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I even researched some about the coaches. Jeremy Bodkin, who coaches Pendleton County, played at WVU. He's 6'9", 250 when he played there at WVU. And then the coach for Tucker County, Daniel Helmick, is a 1,000-point scorer for Tucker County, and so an alum there. And then Tom Gutshaw, who coached for Tucker County for a long time, is listed as a sports medicine staff. So old coach Gutshaw should be there. But yeah,
I challenge anybody that listens to this podcast to go head to head with Derek Ragle in a basketball history or statistic trivia, I promise you'll lose.
If I could harness this power to make money, I'd be doing pretty good in life. But
yeah, get him and Phil C in here.
we should have had Phil too.
Yeah. So, but so Class A shaping up to be a good bracket, and the 4-5 matchup is St. Joe and Cameron. Of course, St. Joe with Maynard, now the head coach there for the Irish.
Yeah, Todd Maynard, and he's got some nice players. Jesse Muncie, who transferred over from Tulsa, is a really nice player for them. According to their stats, he averages 28.6 points per game, which is a lot of points in high school basketball. Then you've also got Xavion Johnson, who's a 6'1" senior, averaging 19.6. And then Caden Hiram, I think is how you pronounce his last name, is averaging 16.4. So they can really score the ball. And they've played in some big games. They beat Huntington High, Quad A school, and they also beat Woodrow Wilson this year, another Quad A school, and they took Cabot Midland right to the wire and gave them everything they wanted, who's a state tournament team in Class Quad A. So St. Joe is very capable. They were in Double A last year, but dropped down to Single A this year because there's a stipulation in the SSAC rules that if you lose a certain percentage of your enrollment, I think it's 20%, that you can drop down a class, and that's what happened with St. Joe. So they're going to be taking on Cameron, Cameron's a nice squad. They knocked off Greater Beckley before Greater Beckley lost all of those players. So they're led by a 6'8" senior, Trevor Beresford, averaging 16.8 points per game. So 6'8" in the Class A field is, well, any class really is a good size. So I think that'll be a pretty good game as well.
Yeah, he's even throwing out regulations now on us.
That's right.
SSAC regulations, Clause B.
People want to know or need to know maybe.
And they come right here to the Biscuits, Brews, and Ball podcast for all your basketball knowledge.
That's right.
So, but yep, Class A, that'll be fun as well. I'll tell you what, this is going to be a fun week.
It is. Looking forward to it.
I love it. I look forward to it every year. I mean, I know we kind of talked about that earlier, but it's awesome.
Yep.
And why I say that, though, I think the crowds are going to be bigger.
Yeah.
After the COVID thing, of course, it was a little slim last year because of that. But the teams in it, anytime you can get Logan, any Logan County teams. Now we've got two. We got Man coming back. We've seen what Man brings and Logan, but Morgantown,
Polka will have a big crowd.
Polka, South Charleston, George Washington, local schools.
Wyoming East will bring a lot of people. They haven't been to the state tournament in a while, and like we said earlier when we were talking about them, that is a basketball community, and I think the Warrior faithful will come out to support their team.
Yep. It always amazes me as far as a trip as it is to Wheeling, how many people Wheeling Central, for being a private school, how many people they bring down.
Yeah, they have great support.
Yeah.
They'll have a good crowd too.
Not to mention Parkersburg South and the great crowds they bring.
Yeah.
A lot of support there. Herbert Hoover,
They
always show out.
Crowd. Yeah.
So, of course, the COVID thing got them last year, and didn't have their full roster when they played last year. So back to the full roster. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking forward to this. I've taken the whole week off. So
I think there'll be a lot of good games. I think there might be a couple that get a little out of hand, but for the most part, I think a lot of the games will be very competitive. So I hope I'm right.
Speaking of out of hand, we saw in the girls' tournament this past week, there was a handful of games. I think I had one time counted 7 that were 30-plus victories, margin of victory. The regional seedings, this is kind of a hot topic. Derek, I know we've texted before in our group text and talked about regional seedings, and you've always seemed to have a solution.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's, the only way you're ever going to get really the best 8 teams, and even then,
and that's the thing, is we're not
there's
getting.
always going to be upsets.
Yeah, we're not always getting the best 8 teams in Charleston.
Right.
Is the argument.
Well, for those that don't understand or know, we operate under a sectional system, and then you advance to a regional system, and then you get your teams to the state tournament. But when you do things by regional representation and by geography, some teams are going to be punished by where they're located. For example, Capital and South Charleston were top 7-8 teams all year in Quad A, and they played each other right off the bat. Some people will say, well, you're going to have to beat them eventually to get there. Well, but isn't the point of the state tournament to get the best 8 teams there? Right. And I understand in a state like West Virginia, especially with the way, fuel prices are right now and things like that, we got to try to eliminate travel and things like that as much as possible. But my idea would be to take, you have 4 regions currently right now in each classification. And each region has 2 sections. You eliminate sections, and you put region 1 and 2, which are typically in the northern part of the state. You put them together, and you seed them 1 through 16, let's just say, for example. And then you take regions 3 and 4, you combine those and make a south region, and you seed them 1 through 16. And then you take out, currently right now, if you lose in the sectional final, you still advance. This would eliminate that. There's no more losing and you advance. You win, and if you're one of the 4 teams left in the North region and you're one of the 4 teams left in the South region, you advance to the state tournament. Right. Now, some people say, well, that's not really, you're still having regional representation. Yes, but it's still better. You don't have a situation where teams are playing each other right off the bat in sectionals that shouldn't be playing that very first game. Yeah. And you can still try to cut down on travel this way.
Perfect example of this, for those that aren't familiar with our system is, was it 2020, Region 3, St. Albans, South Charleston, Capital? Is that Region 3?
Yeah, yeah.
So we're
at
talking
that time, yes.
Region 3, 2020, AAA. You had St. Albans, South Charleston, Capital,
and GW.
And Woodrow Wilson, 5 teams in the top 10 in the state, or top 11, I think it was, in the state. That we're having to battle in sectional regional competition. Yeah, only 2 could make it.
Yeah, and 4 of those teams were in the same section.
Yeah, 4 of those teams were in the same section. So that eliminates that issue, in my opinion, or at least gives those teams an opportunity, just like in football. Yeah, 1 through 16 seeding statewide, but we're talking about 1 through 16 in the South and 1 through 16 in the North. So I like the idea. Obviously, it's not up to us, but Mr. Dolan, if you're listening, or the board of control principals, if you're listening.
And I know you've talked about maybe the process of things getting changed.
Yeah. So the way I understand it, the first step would be it would have to go through the coaches rules committee, which is made up of basketball coaches. And then they would have to approve this, and then I think I don't know if that would just be, if they adopt it, it would go into effect, or if it would have to go before the Board of Controls or the executive board or whatnot, if there would be another step past the coaches committee. But the coaches committee is the first step. I know that for sure. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm not on the coaches committee, but I'm going to try to get this plan to somebody that can maybe do something with it.
Can we get Ragle on the coaches committee?
I think you have to be a head coach. I'm just an assistant, so I can't. I don't think anyway.
You never
know. I could be wrong. Who knows?
So you could be a head coach one day.
Maybe. We'll see.
But okay, so the regional seedings, that's been a hot topic. So there's never the perfect solution, but there's always, can always work towards something better.
Sure.
So, but anyway, it'll be fun this week. I can't wait. You guys, I know you guys go all the time.
Oh yeah.
Favorite places to eat?
Well, I mean,
up there in Charleston.
It's not always about quality, although the food is great, beverages are great. But tradition means a lot to us, a whole lot. And we have a good friend named Tyler Sigmund for the better part of a decade almost. He's been coming up from North Carolina. He's a POCA graduate.
It's Sigmunds, the Putnam County Sigmunds?
Yes. Same crew.
Yep. He's first cousins with Bryan Anthony Sigmund. Bryan. So anyways, he's been coming up, and our friends, if we're not coaching in it, we'll get together And in between sessions, a lot of times we'll go to Adelphia.
Yep.
Highly recommend Adelphia during tournament time. Not only the state basketball tournament, but also the NCAA tournament, because they have so many good TVs. The atmosphere is great. And again, tradition means a lot to us. So we'll do that at least once or twice this week for sure. There in between sessions. That's our thing.
Yeah, and you got recovery down there in Charleston
good spot as well.
And I tell you what, the pitch has opened up in Canal City.
Oh,
That's right.
So you can pop on the interstate there and drop over into Canal City, up towards Marmet, that area,
Okay.
Right.
on that end of Canal City. But the
Gotcha.
pitch is
Right there in the near the mall, Canal City Mall.
right there beside Kroger.
Or you can just backtrack west and in about the same amount of time be in Institute.
Yep.
Shawnee.
At Shawnee. The
They got
pitch.
good food.
Shawnee Sports Complex, the pitch is there as well. So plenty of options, and we already talked about the hamburgers at Susie's.
That's right.
So, they're known for biscuits, but I've had a hamburger there too.
I've had a couple people tell me their burgers are good.
Really good.
Never been there around lunch.
So-
So only getting their biscuits.
Of course, you got to throw in the tap in St. Albans if you make your way to St.
Absolutely.
Albans.
Yep.
So they've got great food and all the. I say craft beer. Is that?
Oh, we serve mostly craft beer, but we also have, again, the domestics, Mick Ultra on draft, and 4 different types of sangria, all the white and red wines, Coke products. If you don't want to drink alcohol, which we have no problem with, we have Coke products and lemonade and great food menu. And so, it's a good
Food's
place to
great.
be.
Food's great.
Yep.
It's a great place if you're in St. Albans and that's kind of your scene. Again, you don't have to drink to go there. As Bryan just said, it's a great place. Go check it out. Great food, great drinks, good atmosphere. It's
Lots of
it's an awesome
TVs.
place.
Good place to watch a game. So.
And another thing, Coal River Coffee Company is now inside
The
the
Civic
Charleston
Center.
Coliseum.
The
It's not the
Charleston
Civic Center.
Coliseum.
Oh
anymore.
wow,
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yep. They serve coffee
At events.
at events,
Yep.
and if they're not there, I'll go drag Michael Irvin up there because I'm going to
I
need
don't know
coffee.
I don't know if they're going to be there this week or not.
Oh my gosh! Don't tell me that.
I don't know. They don't do every event, but they do a lot of them.
You gotta do this
This is
event.
one of the bigger ones.
Yeah, you would think.
I would be working it. That's for sure.
Yeah. So let's hope they're there. I'm going to call him after this. But Coal River Coffee, a great place down in St. Albans near the Tap on Old Main Street. Another great place. And if you're inside the Charleston Coliseum and you're hungry and can't get out, they've got a place called The Grill.
Yeah.
And the Philly steak up there is wonderful. They put it on pita bread.
Yeah.
It is
We
great.
we do have to give a shout out to the people involved with the Charleston Coliseum and the city of Charleston and the improvements that they've made over the years. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
just building onto the new convention center area, new concession stand or new grill and new lobbies and ticket booths and all that kind. I mean, there's obviously a desire to improve. And I think there's things that can continue to be done. We've talked about inside the actual arena, new paint job on the floor. Maybe one day we'll see some new seats.
Yeah.
I hear that's coming soon.
Yeah. But you do have to give a shout out to the people involved with that they're thinking progressively, and they're trying to make things better and make it the best venue in the state, which is what we want
Absolutely.
in Charleston.
It's a great facility, and I think they've done good things, and hopefully they continue to keep adding on and improving.
Yep. So should be a fun time up at the Charleston Coliseum for the boys state basketball tournament. And if you see us up there, say hi. Tell us you listen to the podcast, especially this one
Yeah,
with
for sure.
Derek Ragle.
Durick.
Yeah. So anyway, hope to see everybody there. It starts on Tuesday. Be 6 games Tuesday through Friday, and then the 4 championships on Saturday. The Class A gets started at 10 o'clock. And then last game is 4A. I think it starts at 8 o'clock that night. So fun time to be had by all. So that'll do it for now. Again, we want to thank Derek Ragle.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Anytime I can talk basketball, especially about the state tournament. And
We may have to do a recap.
Sure.
We got to do a recap.
Sure. I mean, I've got all kinds of other stuff. I wasn't sure if you want me to just talk about this year or just my past experiences or what. So I covered all bases.
Yep.
Anytime.
Predictions, each class.
All right, I'm going to go with the obvious. There's a few obvious ones in my opinion. Actually, I'm going to go with 4A. We're going to have to go with Morgantown. I think just too talented and too well coached. I think Coach Tomlin's going to lead them to, especially after last year's heartbreak against George Washington. AAA, Shady Spring, I believe. The way that they're playing, the domination that they've had all year long. I believe that they're ready for a repeat of a state championship. I also think, just like Morgantown, I think in AA that Polka has a little bitter taste in their mouth, and I think that the great player that Isaac McNeely is, and the defensive-minded team, which goes a long way in that Civic Center when it's hard to shoot. I believe that it'll be their championship.
Yeah.
On
And
the addition of Sam Neff, a former assistant of ours.
That's right. Yes. Sam.
Wait, did we just mention Sam Neff on the podcast?
Sam puts him over the top, I
Way to
believe.
sneak it in there.
Yeah. He's a legend, and I think in the coming years you guys will learn more about Sammy Neff. But and then single A, I think is a little bit more of a toss up.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Derek?
Well, I agree with your other picks, Morgantown, Shady Spring, and Polka. I think those are all pretty good bets. I really like Man as well. You know, I talked about James Monroe. I feel like Man's got a nice team. I just worry about this first-round matchup with Greater Beckley.
Yeah.
I feel like Greater Beckley's got a little bit of motivation. You know, I think they believe they got a little chip on their shoulder and the us against the world mentality for having those players suspended. I think they feel like that people are against them, and maybe some people are. Some other school. I don't know, but anytime you get a team that's really highly motivated and has good guard play in high school basketball, you can do some things. But I think I'm going to go with Man to repeat. Even though I said earlier I really liked James Monroe. This is James Monroe's first time there. Man's got some guys back from last year, even though they're missing a couple guys that went, Tackett from Man's at Logan now, and then Ball's playing at that prep school in Virginia. Man's still got it going pretty good, so I think I'm going to go with Man to repeat.
I'm choosing Man because they have the best mascot, and their mascot, the Hillbillies.
Yeah. Hillbillies is a good one. Yeah, we've got a couple good ones in this tournament.
We're going with the Man Hillbillies for the single A.
There you go.
State championship.
Well, there's the picks. We'll check in next week. We'll have a recap. We'll do a review.
Sounds good to me.
So, but after the boys state tournament, we'll have the review. Get Mr. Ragle back on here because he enjoys it so much, and we just enjoy him so much. So.
Appreciate it.
That'll do it for now for the Biscuits, Brews, and Ball podcast. Again, want to thank everybody for tuning in. Until next time, Jack Withrow alongside Bryan England. You've been listening to the Biscuits, Brews, and Ball podcast.